we had to dramatically change our diet at home.
When we become mothers,
Yes.
we start learning about nutrition and all of these other things.
Which we personally would ignore for ourselves,
Correct.
isn't it? And another thing, remember, children are visual eaters. Because sometimes as bloggers, we've also had our pitfalls.
Welcome to Look and Cook Studios. Today we have Anupa, who's a food marketer, food blogger and chef. Let's begin. Welcome, Anupa.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So the first question I want to ask you is, how did you get interested in food and at what age did you start?
So my journey with food is very long. At the age of 9, I got a recipe book. My mom had a lot of recipes. She was a good cook herself. And I saw this amazing cake. And I wanted that cake desperately. I wanted to eat the cake. And I told her, please make it for me. And she told me, why don't you make it yourself? And that got the ball rolling. I made the cake and slowly I got into it. Until when I was in my early 20s, I started even conducting cooking classes. And at that time, when I was in Mumbai, the interest for Italian and Chinese was just growing, and I enjoyed conducting these classes. It was basically classes held for young girls who were getting into, the marriage scene, and they needed to add in an extra element to their skills in the kitchen other than the desi cooking. So that's where I came in and I helped them with Italian and Chinese dishes.
So how old were you when you were doing that teaching?
I was pretty much just getting out of college at that point. Obviously, in my late teens and very early 20s. So I was very young, but because I had been doing it for a long time, I used to make my own pasta. I used to make spinach infused pasta. All of this because at that point it wasn't even available in restaurants in Mumbai. It was just, unless it is a very high-end restaurant like in the Taj or something. So it got me interested and I enjoyed it thoroughly. And yes, that's what got the ball rolling.
So I guess from that you've started developing your own recipes, and is that how you...
So what happened was obviously I came to Dubai in 2003 and I was a single girl here, and at that point I just wanted all my comfort food, and I was cooking a lot of food for even my friends because everyone at that point was busy with work. So I would cook chole, rajma, and I would give it to my friends. But when it came to my own recipe developing, it was probably a little over 10 years ago. Because of a personal situation, we had to dramatically change our diet at home. So in terms of diet, completely cut out processed food, and especially for my son, cut out milk, cut out wheat, and a lot of things. So that's got me into recipe development because up until that point, I knew what I was doing and I relied on white flour and so many other things which we take for granted. And so I had to completely cut that out. For him, I had to start developing new recipes to reduce white flour, to reduce any toxic elements, no red dye, no gluten, so many things, no cow's milk as well. So that got the ball rolling for healthy recipes, and that's when I started creating and developing my own recipes. These are gluten-free recipes. They are raw recipes. I got into the GAPS diet because the GAPS diet is very much like the paleo diet, minus, all the new elements which came in 100 years ago, like the processed wheat and things like that, and a lot of bone broth, all of those elements. And that's how I started creating my own recipes. And my blog, Saffron Bowl, was launched in 2017. And it's got 4 different variations. You can go there, you can find gluten-free recipes, you can find, non-vegetarian recipes, paleo recipes, raw recipes, and vegan recipes. And the reason why I did this was I was also helping a lot of parents who have special needs children or who have children with eczema and whatever other allergies. It just, it grew in terms of a lot of people knew I was into cooking, and then that kind of word of mouth spread. So there was a point where I would get a lot of phone calls. Parents would ask me for recipes. I would email them. There was no WhatsApp at that point. I would be
This is how many
emailing
years ago?
quite some time,
Okay.
2010, 11, 12, And so the blog came in much later. 2000, yeah, I don't think there was WhatsApp in 2010, if I'm not mistaken.
Social media was just beginning.
Barely, yeah. Facebook was there,
Yes.
And so then all of this emailing and then calls and all of that, finally, when I actually got the time in 2017, I got this blog. I created the blog myself and got these recipes in. And yeah, it's been very helpful for me personally as well, because it is for my family. And I've had input from parents who have said that, because most of it is child friendly recipes.
So your family situation led you to develop recipes.
Personal, yeah, it was a personal situation. And then it was more like a ripple effect. It helped so many other parents. And even to date, what happens to me is in terms of nutrition, although I'm not a qualified nutritionist, I have studied so much because there are so many small elements you have to look into, like magnesium, which is present in pumpkin seeds, or zinc or iron. Children are deficient in many ways if you don't focus on their diet. I'm not just talking about special children. Sometimes you see regular kids and you'll see they'll have some white patches and things like that. And so it is important to focus on the child's diet, especially when they're young. The right nutrition is the best way to boost their immunity.
True. So even my journey in food began when my son was born and I didn't know how to cook. So I said I need to feed him healthy food. And
Yes.
that's how I started learning cooking and got into this journey. So I think when we become mothers,
Yes.
we start learning about nutrition and all of these other things. That's so important.
Which we personally would ignore for ourselves,
Correct.
isn't it?
Yes. So when we talk about developing recipes, I got that you're doing it for health reasons. But how the popular perception is these other ingredients don't taste as well or as good as what we are used to, right? So how do you include these new ingredients and bring in the flavor that's the kids really need to eat and enjoy it?
So it is tricky, it is tough. Initially, my son was obviously, my kids were never interested in trying a quinoa or a millet. Okay, these are, they have strong flavors, especially millet has got this nutty element to it, unlike rice. Now, rice is the most safest thing to give a child in terms of a gluten-free diet. But especially in Desi households, in Indian households, we eat a lot of rice. We don't realize. It doesn't have to be specifically a rice as in a steamed rice. You have your dosa, you have your appams, you have so many, especially in the South Indian diet. Rice is there like in every single meal. And the thing is, again, thanks to research, I realized too much of rice has traces of arsenic, which again affects us. So I had to go back and do more research and make sure instead of giving a rice-based dosa, I gave 100% ragi-based dosa or 100% lentil-based dosa. You can make dosa out of millet as well, as long as you're creative. And yes, it is tricky. Because I don't use things like a flavor enhancer. I never have, thank God, in all of my journeys throughout the years. I never used these cubes and things which would boost the flavor. But there are elements in your cooking. For example, if you have a vegetable broth for vegetarian dishes, or a chicken broth, or a meat-based broth for your meat-based. Let's say you're doing a biryani. If you add the meat-based broth, obviously the flavor is enhanced naturally. You see,
Correct.
based on the children's interest. And another thing, remember, children are visual eaters. Okay, anything looks dull and boring, they are not interested. So that is why my food, if you see in the blog, it looks very colorful. The more colorful it is appealing to the child.
So you've talked about how you've created recipes, and now you also share it on your website.
Yes.
And I want to talk a little bit about how you've moved into food influencing
Okay.
and becoming an influencer overall. So what was the first step that you took, or the realization that you got that I want to put it out on social media and reach out to more people?
So even before my blog was, my website, my recipe blog was on, I had an Instagram account, the
Okay.
very account which you have seen right now. And whatever experimental stuff I used to do with my recipe creations, I would just post it there. And that's how then finally in 2017, actually when I launched my blog, I got a lot of recognition. A television channel covered it.
So you first did the blog, or the first was the social media?
So my Instagram account came first before the blog. So, and I had a Facebook as well. And that was the first thing. So social media came first, but there were no restaurant reviews at that point. It was only me putting out, gluten-free recipes or salads or whatever. All of
Sharing
this.
your knowledge.
Yes, yes. And then I launched the blog finally because I got some time, and that came through in 2017. And after that, because somewhere I got quite a bit of recognition, I was called in by an agency for a bloggers meet. And I was wondering, what is this blogger? First of all, what is a blogger? What is a bloggers meet? We were called to a newly launched Indian restaurant in Sharjah. And that was my first experience for in terms of a restaurant review. And it was very new at that point. I wasn't even sure what I'm expected to do. But they just said, enjoy the food and just take pictures. And at that point, obviously, Instagram was all static. So just take pictures and post it, and that's how it started for me. And I think it went crazy post COVID.
Correct.
After COVID, especially 2021, it went crazy in the number of reviews
Yes.
pouring in.
Everybody was at home beginning to cook,
Yeah,
learning photography
yeah,
and posting.
Yeah. So the Dubai restaurants did take a hit for a short period, but I think I would really credit the influencers of this industry for boosting a lot of restaurants, because we also sat at home and did home delivery reviews at that point, because
Okay.
naturally you cannot go and you cannot visit the restaurant because of the restrictions. And that really, I have to say, I have so many friends in the industry who are like huge influencers now, and the effort we put in. And I mean, at that time, there was nothing being paid as well. It was all barter, and we did it as a goodwill, because obviously you want the industry to thrive, you want the economy to thrive. And I'm actually also from the restaurant business. That's my history. And I have friends and I have ex-colleagues who are still in restaurants. And you do it as a goodwill because you want them to survive. It's a matter of their jobs. So that's how it got, kick-started. Post-COVID, there were so many new influencers and lots of reviews. Because before COVID, everybody would go out, dine out. But now you have got competitors. You've got your Noon, you've got your Kareem, you've got your Talabat. And it's so convenient to sit at home. You can sit at home and you can order from all of these amazing restaurants.
Correct.
Why would you go out? So if you want to entice the customer, the ambience has to be amazing. So the ambience is very important. That's why you've got so many Insta-worthy restaurants coming up.
Yes.
So that's one. Secondly, how many seater is the restaurant? There are now certain restaurants. You'll be surprised. It's a 12-seater restaurant. These are very niche, very high-end places. So people don't understand. And then if you don't convey this, there'll be a line outside, because the minute a food blogger or an influencer posts, yes, that place will start getting a footfall.
Yeah.
So there are many elements actually. Then, of course, the hospitality. The people who,
service.
yes, the service is very important. If you get good service, you will naturally go back again. And the hygiene factor, the convenience factor, so many elements are there. I remember quite some time ago, it wasn't a restaurant which called me for a review. It was an amazing restaurant. The food was good, everything was good, but the washrooms were atrocious. So, there are so many things you look into. So then finally comes the taste, the presentation, and the price point. These are also equally important, obviously, in the customer journey. And again, it could be a celebrity chef, so you have to write a little bit, or you have to do that background information
Understand.
about the chef. So there are a lot of things. So unlike what people
So,
think.
but do they know that you are the blogger or the influencer who's coming to talk about it, or you go like
No,
Mystery
it's,
Shopper? They know it.
They know. See,
So,
19.
do you feel the service would be different if you were just another customer?
Not really, because sometimes as bloggers, we've also had our pitfalls.
Okay.
So there's no such thing like that. We've seen the ups and downs, whether you go as a blogger or not. But what I try to do is I try to convey everything in the most honest and transparent manner. I don't go around saying this is a hidden gem. I very rarely do I use a hidden gem, because if it is a hidden gem, they wouldn't be inviting me, first of all.
Correct.
So most of the time it is either the restaurant or a PR company on behalf of the restaurant which approaches me and other bloggers. So they're well aware that they are calling us, because at the end of the day, this is how they will market themselves. Back in the time when I was in traditional marketing, we used to send out invites for a restaurant launch to the press, and the press would have a press kit, they would have a press release, and we would put out advertising in the newspapers. Everything has changed.
Correct.
Now the people being invited for a restaurant launch is the
All of
food
it.
influencer and the food blogger,
Yeah.
so that we can immediately set it out in our stories and in our posts and things like that. So the entire industry has changed in many ways. So what I do is, if I do have a negative experience, I do inform the agency, and because the agency is the one representing the client. And so it's my task to inform the agency. If it is a really bad situation, I don't even post about it. That's for sure. But sometimes one has to be clever in understanding that maybe you were probably looked at as a blogger, which is why they gave you a certain set of food and dishes and whatever. And then you have to be very careful and think about it as a customer point of view. So you have to also observe, when there are dining customers, you should observe how are they treating the dining customers. And based on that, you should make a decision whether you should post or not. And so there have been times where, also I'll give you an example, I've had amazing experiences at a restaurant, but then 6 months down the line, what happens is maybe the management of the restaurant has changed, or they've been bought over by somebody else.
Correct.
But we don't understand, because the name stays the same.
Yes.
The board is the same. And yes, there has been situations where, from people from my Insta family, they always go. Many of them are there who are regularly dining out on the weekend based on my suggestions. And I have received some negative feedback saying, you said this was good, that was good, but we had a bad time. So then I do my own digging, and then I realize, okay, there's been a management change. And then what I do is I just delete my Google review, because I can't go out there and post something negative. And I delete whatever I've posted on my grid as well, because I don't want to be associated. So my experience was obviously different from a different management. And anyway, it would be invalid. What
Correct.
I have posted would be invalid. So
You just take it off.
yeah, it's easier for me, peace of mind, to just take it off. Yes.
Correct.
But another thing, what restaurants, they don't understand is, we have to create content. We have to write out that content. We have to edit the content. Forget about the tasting and the food photography. There is a lot of work just, leading up to it or post the review.
That was going to be my next question. That with this new media, learning how to shoot videos, editing it is all like a learning curve for everybody, right? So how did you cope with that?
So again, my background is F&B marketing. It was all traditional, right? And then what happened, again in 2012, 2013, I realized the whole media is changing. Print was going down and digital was going up. So I did a lot of courses. So
Online.
no. At that time, there was nothing online. Actually, in
Physical
Dubai,
courses.
there were courses here, but at that point, there were no certificates. So ultimately, when I really got a certificate, it was in 2020 that I did a digital marketing course with full, social media inputs, and I'm also Google certified. That's basically for my career point of view. But yes, I had to upskill, because if I don't upskill, then I'm
Correct.
just going to get outdated. So that really helped. But again, Instagram itself has changed from static pictures. It's become a video format. 90% of content now is reels, and it is so fast. The whole thing goes so fast, and you have
You
to.
mean the video is going so fast, or the
No,
industry
the
itself?
industry and the change and the elements
Yes.
involved. And people don't realize we spend 3 hours sometimes in a restaurant, or if it's an experience based restaurant, you spend even more time. And all of that has to be conveyed in probably a 20-second or a 30 seconds, because people don't have time beyond that. They're going to just scroll.
Correct.
So you have to convey everything within that 18, 20, 30-second margin.
So editing and choosing what you want to put in the 20 seconds, telling that story takes time, which people don't realize. Because
Yes.
I know when we shoot a recipe that's 3 hours long, like an Arabic recipe,
Yeah.
and they want it in a 20-second clip, it takes 5 edits. First you bring it to a 3 minute, and then a 1 minute, and then a 30 second.
Yes.
Then we cut it to a 20 second.
Yes. Yeah.
And still you want to show the whole process of making that dish.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I guess time is not valued as much by people, because when they see that 20-second clip, they said, "Oh, she just did a 20-second clip," but they don't realize you took half a day to do that 20-second clip.
Absolutely. And when it comes to reels, they require to put in captions. They require to do voiceovers. They require you to put in the correct music. There's a lot of elements there as well.
Yes.
So people don't realize that what they see for that 15, 20 seconds, like you said, there's a lot of work involved.
Correct. So the next thing I want to talk about is how influencers influence here and world over what people eat finally, right? The responsibility they hold. So how do you look at your responsibility of being an influencer?
So, in fact, I just went to ChatGPT and I asked ChatGPT to analyze my profile. And the one thing, other than the random copy paste stuff, it did say that I was honest in my reviews. And I try my best to portray everything as much as possible in every honest way possible. So I highlight and I say, these are the must-haves, these are the must-try, because these are the dishes which stood out for me. If the service is good, I will talk about it. If it is not good, I won't mention it. If the price point is expensive, I will say that this kind of a place is for special occasions. So people have to very delicately understand that, yes, it is an expensive place. Or at times, I even put out that, yes, it's 1,000 dirham per head venue, because, yes, people have to understand.
And be aware instead of...
Yes. So, again, like I said, I do a lot of research before, and I want to convey to the people who are viewing my content that, okay, you can, it's accessible via car, or you can't go there by car. Maybe it's only a metro access place, These are things which I put out. And I try my best to highlight all the best things because it is tough to cover the negative aspects.
But this is when it comes to the restaurant.
Yes.
But what about recipes or what people consume? Because in the end, what we consume is who we become, right?
Yes.
In terms of health.
Yes.
And I believe that the food influencers hold a lot of power and responsibility in
Yeah.
that.
I agree. I agree.
So how do you look at that part?
So
When you
that
every
part,
time do you think of it when you put
yes,
out the
it
content?
is. It
in
is
terms of the
actually
health?
that health aspect is always very important to me, and that is one thing. In fact, most of the agency people know I don't cover junk food at
Okay.
all. That is one thing I just don't do. Maybe because I was exposed to the junk food industry earlier on, so I know what goes into it, and I would
And
never.
what's happening at home makes you aware that.
Yes. So I don't do junk food. I don't think anyone has seen me even eating a burger unless it is something like a vegan burger or a gluten-free burger, then definitely I would. But then that again comes with a price tag, isn't it? A vegan burger or a gluten-free burger is not your affordable 10 dirham
Correct.
burger. So I make sure, like I said, I make sure that I do that homework because there are many times, and frankly speaking, I do turn down a lot of reviews, especially if it's directly being approached to by a restaurant, and I do tell them very honestly, this is not in line with what I represent, because quite a few of my followers, they have been with me on my early journey before I got into this restaurant reviews, and they do know that I put out healthy recipes. So I do highlight, especially if there is a lot of gluten-free, dishes available. I highlight that. I highlight the fact that there are nice vegan dishes available because, again, that is a growing industry over here, and especially in Dubai, people are very health conscious.
I think it's the world over
Yeah,
after COVID and everything.
absolutely,
People have become a lot more health
absolutely,
conscious of
absolutely.
and know what the ingredients that are going into preparing a
Absolutely.
dish and all of
Yes, yes. And maybe because earlier on itself, I stopped anything to do with what doesn't sync with me, like the junk food. I am getting the kind of reviews which align with my ideology, a lot of farm to table kind of concepts, a lot of things, restaurants where it is 100% organic, or quite a few gluten free restaurants I have covered. And it definitely aligns with my ideology and the kind of people who are in my follower list as well. There are a lot of families, they're all well settled here, and they're looking for quality ingredients, not just the experience factor, but quality ingredients which go into what they're being served.
I also noticed when I was looking through your feed that you also cover different kinds of cuisines.
Yes.
Like I saw your African, Korean.
Yes.
Not many people experiment with different
Yes.
kinds of foods from different regions.
Yes.
So is that something that your family do together or is it just you?
So I'll be honest, my husband, he's born and brought up here, and his style of dining out is very different from me. And my daughter also, especially my elder one, they are very, very fussy, and they need something unique all the time. My son, who's the younger one, he's a lot like me. I'm very happy with my desi food and things like that. He's like that. But my husband wants something unique all the time. Of course, he loves anything healthy. And so, because of him, and also the fact that I had that exposure in the industry here, I was launching Mediterranean restaurants and things like that, and I know how a mansaf is made. How I know how a maklube is made. So many things like that. So that got me interested, and another factor, like I said, I had to get into gluten-free cooking, and I realized most of the Far East and Far East side, it's gluten-free. Yes, so Japanese food is so healthy, so healthy.
Correct.
They use seaweed and they use a lot of natural elements. Korean food also again is a lot of gluten-free things. Thai is now my favorite. It used to be Italian, but now Thai, Malaysian, Vietnamese food, it's very much my favorite now. I enjoy dining out. I've covered a lot of Thai restaurants, and I also enjoy cooking Thai food to an extent that sometimes when I take my daughter to a Thai restaurant, she tells me, Mama, your green curry is better. And, so, so I do enjoy making these dishes. And the thing is, it is that umami flavoring because it's a mix. There is a little bit of sweet, there's a little bit of sour, a little bit of spicy, all of that. And that really entices the taste buds. So you don't need to add in anything like a cube or a flavor enhancer because you're using all the natural elements to boost the dish.
Correct. So, how do you see this future of the food influencer business?
See, I think the future is definitely, especially in Dubai, it's such a dynamic market. And I think we are going to see more and more experience based, places popping up in terms of the
Outlets.
F&B industry, and also the dynamics of being an influencer is also changing. Like now you have these UGC content creators.
Yes. User generated content.
Yes. So I think that is also slowly creeping into the food industry for us food bloggers as well. And again, AI is also taking over in many ways. And I think there'll be more apps, which is going to help us and enhance our editing skills and things like that. And let's see, Dubai being Dubai, there's always going to be the best of the best,
We're in a place where the world is coming to different kinds of cuisine.
Absolutely.
And I think we're really spoiled for the choices.
Absolutely. And the whole, if you go through the Dubai chocolate, it started off as a TikTok post.
Correct.
And it is viral now. It's available everywhere.
Pistachio is in every recipe now.
Everywhere, that pistachio kunafa. And now I believe even in the US, if you go to a Costco supermarket, you're going to get their version of it.
Yes.
So that is the power of influencer marketing. And another thing, like I wanted to tell you, you were asking me about my food pictures, and I told you I'm taking it on an Android. And I do get a lot of feedback. My food pictures are nice. But the funny thing is, other than, of course, influencing people to go and dine at restaurants, I think the phone I use, I have at least 6 people who bought the exact same phone. Okay. So I think that company should be thanking me to promote their phone because it's not a cheap phone. It's a 3,000, 4,000 dirham phone. And there are other food bloggers who they were not Android users. They are now Android users because they liked the clarity of my, pictures. But another thing, again, I want to say it's not just about picture taking. You have to get the correct shot. The lighting should be good. There's a lot of editing which goes. I put in a little bit of effort in editing, so maybe 2 of us or 3 of us are called for an event and our pictures will be different because I put in that time and effort to edit the pictures a little bit, because I know how to make that dish stand out, and there is editing involved, which is again, now, earlier it used to be on Photoshop, but now everything is on an app.
Correct, but I also believe that if 3 people are there coming from a photography background,
Yes.
how you frame it and
Yes.
what you see
Yes.
through that frame changes everything.
Absolutely. You need to have that eye.
Correct.
And that is something it's not everyone has
Yes.
that particular
And I think
eye.
coming from that fine art background, you
Yes.
have that eye to frame it well for it to
Yes.
stand out,
Yes,
which is an advantage in itself.
absolutely.
Okay, so thank you so much, Anupa, for joining me
Thank you for
today, and
having
it was
me.
really lovely getting to know you and getting to know your journey in being a food influencer.
Thank you so much for having me.